I think in terms of recommendations, I really don't want to say people should do this or they shouldn't do this. You know, whether people should try psychedelics or not try psychedelics is really a decision that they need to make themselves. What I can say is that under certain circumstances, psychedelics have been tremendously beneficial to me and to loads of people that I know. Most of them are not designated patients, but are just looking for personal growth or for spiritual experiences. The most important thing I could say is for people to think about it as a two-day experience, and to think about the experience combined with efforts to integrate it into the daily life. That it's not just what happens during the acute effects of when somebody is under the influence of MDMA or LSD or ayahuasca or peyote, although that's very important to structure that as good as possible. But it's about what you bring back and what you really can incorporate and learn from. And so a lot of us, our lives are so hectic, we're working and we're moving and we're traveling and we're doing stuff, that the idea of taking time out to do a psychedelic, even that is hard for people. With LSD, really you should be taking 8, 10, 12 hours. But then to think about it as a two-day experience where the next day is for rest, is for recuperation, is for thinking about what happened, drawing it out in art, or doing any number of different kind of techniques, thinking about what happens with your dreams, you know, journaling about it, talking to other people about it. The idea of using the second day for purposes of reflection and integration, I think, is really important. One of the other main things to recommend as an approach for those people that do want to do it is that the recreational use is kind of looking at using these drugs just for fun. And I think when somebody is, even for recreational users, they should realize that once they catalyze this process of this emerging material from their unconscious to their conscious mind, that you should be prepared for the full range of emotions. You might try to structure it just with a friend or just with a lover or just with, you know, in a religious, spiritual context or something like that, or in a recreational party context. But whatever it is, you should be open to the full range of experiences. And we find that a lot of people take drugs for recreational purposes, then when psychological stuff starts coming up of prior abuse, they try to stuff it all back down. So I think that's really detrimental to themselves. It kind of takes things that have been suppressed, but then you've moved them up to awareness, but if you don't fully process them, then they torment you or bother you or cause anxiety. So I think it's really important to open to whatever is happening when it's happening, whatever moods they are, whatever. And then I guess the third and final thing maybe is just to say that it's important to do all the preparation that you can do and think about your intentions and think about what you want to do, think about the environment, think about who you want to be with. Try to structure it as much as you can, but once you've taken the drug, just let all that go and then just be spontaneous about what happens, what emerges. And then once you've created this structure, but then you've freed yourself from it, you'll find that a lot of the elements of the structure that you've created will prove to be really helpful. But you want to be spontaneous and able to go in unexpected directions because psychedelics bring unexpected ideas to the surface and emotions. When people take psychedelics and things come to the surface, it's part of them. It's not really a drug experience that they're having. They're having an experience of themselves that's been mediated by this drug. And that same experience can come out through dreams, it can come out through art, it can come out through daydreaming, it can come out in any number of different ways. So people, if they take different drugs, it has a different kind of flavor or angle, but it's sort of your own internal themes. And so I think if people can kind of recognize that, and that once you've sort of catalyzed this emergence, then there's so many different ways that integration process can take place. But that it all involves reflection on what happened and also as honest of an inventory as you can make about what happened, what you'd like to have happen on a more permanent basis from what happened during the psychedelics, and then how do you, in a little way, start building up your capacity so that that might be more of a normal daily new capacity. So for us, the way we do the MDMA-assisted psychotherapy, it's during the day. Starts around 10 in the morning, goes till 6 in the evening. It's a male-female co-therapist team. We require the people to spend the night at the treatment center so that they don't distract themselves with traffic and with going back home and talking to family and friends. But then the most crucial part is the next day, after they've had a relaxed morning, the therapists come back and they have multiple hours of discussions about what happened before. And the therapists have taken notes, they've done videotapes, and when somebody's experiencing psychedelics, so much is happening that you have a tendency to sort of grab onto, like, that was useful, I'm going to remember that. And that sort of slows down the emergence of new material when you had to grab onto stuff that was valuable from before. So the therapists are taking notes during the session, and then during the integration process, you can discuss them, and that can really help bring back feelings and help anchor them in your post-psychedelic day. Then when people go home, we actually call them on the phone every day for a week for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, depending on what's going on with them, to see how they're processing it. How is the integration process actually going? And so we have a very rigorous container for people's experiences. After the therapists leave, we have a night attendant come in so people are not by themselves. If they need help, they know where to get it. So I think this integration process is really key, because what we're trying to do, which is nonprofit drug development with psychedelics and marijuana, we're trying to show that these experiences have lasting benefits. It's not enough to show that these experiences are enjoyable or they're seemingly profound. It's about what are the lasting benefits. And to do that, there needs to be a lot of anchoring in the integrative process. We find that people really like art, like to draw, even people that aren't good drawers, that there's a way in which you kind of non-verbally can get feelings out in art. People have written long journal entries. I myself have had experiences that have transferred to dreams and then sort of mutated into new psychedelic experiences, different psychedelics than the one I took before. And so I do have this feel for how the material comes out in different ways. And it's kind of a unified sense of where it's coming from. So I think the integration is about just reflecting on what happened, but it's also about making these small, tiny changes in everyday life that would support whatever new direction people wanted to go in. And that's really the key to the integration process, is putting into practice what you had learned or experienced or decided to try or that you hoped for. Is actually, can you put that into practice, even in little ways, talking to your family in more open ways, or whatever it happens to be. I think, taking the courage and finding some small step that you can do, and then that builds your capacity, your muscles for the integration process.